All right, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Ms. Gore, if you will let the roll reflect that every board member is here in attendance. And if everybody would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence to follow. Is there any chance I could get our guests to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I could do it.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And stand for a moment of silence, please. Please be seated. Ms. Gore, any citizens' comments? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and jump right in. Get a motion to approve today's agenda.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Benjamin and Ms. Conley. Perfect. Is there discussion on the agenda? Okay, let's vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right, moving on. Chairman's report. I want to welcome the Scouts to the meeting. Thanks, guys, for being here. We appreciate you. It's a great organization. I think almost all of us did Scouts probably when we were younger, and we're glad to have you. Thanks for showing up. This next one's going to be a little odd. So I'm just going to jump right in. Since we met last time, two board members contacted me and stated they wish to change parts of the superintendent's evaluation from April. New evaluation was pushed out to them for them to complete, and the superintendent's evaluation was retabulated with new data. As a result, Superintendent Mayo's evaluation went from a 2.97 to a 2.99, with all board members giving him a perfect score apart from one who scored a 2 in one performance area. The only reason I bring that up is because it was all a matter of public record, and I just want the new record to report that the new aggregate score was 2.99. I'm going to try. Do we still have a copy of the revised that we can push out to them? Can we do that just when you have a time? Thank you, sir. So we'll get that, the new eval, just for your own private files to get that pushed out to you. Hopefully, whenever Mr. Overby has time. I did a couple of things. Superintendent's been busy collecting trophies, and I mentioned this when we did the district kickoff, so those of you that were here probably already, this is old news, plus Tyler, you know, he scoops me on everything, so good thing he's not here. But Superintendent Mayo was recently invited to be a featured superintendent by the National Association of School Superintendents. With that invitation places Superintendent Mayo as a finalist for the National Superintendent of the Year. He's among 16 that were invited from the entire nation, and the only one that's being considered and invited from the state of Tennessee. So for the general public and for TV viewers at home, that was my announcement when we did the district kickoff. So congratulations, sir. Well deserved. In addition to that, at some point after that, he was invited to participate in the 2023 September National Superintendent Forum in San Antonio, Texas. This is an invitation only. As part of that invitation, he'll be on a national advisory panel composed of 15 superintendents and district leaders. They have a large range of topics of discussion that he'll be participating in. You are attending, correct? Okay. The only downside to that is it does coincide with one other event that we're having that we'll get to in a minute, but you will not be in attendance. But this is really a super interesting thing. If any of the board members are interested, I can forward the email, or if the superintendent can forward it. But it's a really neat invitation. There's a wide range of topics that he'll be contributing. Best part about it, this entire trip is free of charge. The invitation included all expenses paid, food, drinks, travel, hotel, everything. So this doesn't cost our district anything, and it puts our superintendent on a national panel. So congratulations, sir. Again, well deserved. A late addition to your packets, and most of you have already signed, is the letter. And you probably noticed in Ms. Williams' report that I think you sent like 10 pages of this time. So it was a lengthy legislative report, but part of it was the partisan elections. And Ms. Speakman was kind enough to thank you. To put a very, very appropriate letter together that will be forwarded on behalf of this board to the both Republican and Democratic parties. So thank you for your work on that, and thank you, board, for taking a stance on this and signing it. Cool. Before I get too much further, I would like to welcome a very special guest, Ms. Deborah Thomas. She is on the Lakeland School Board. How many years?
This is my second term,
So, yeah, awesome. So part of being on the Board of Education, should you choose to do so, it's voluntary. There is a level system and a point system that you can do a lot of extra stuff to build your knowledge base and become a better board member. And Ms. Thomas is doing that currently. She's working on level 4. The highest attainable is a level 5. So she's up there. We appreciate your diligence in being a better board member. She's going to proctor our meeting today. So be kind in your assessment. Okay. But we're seriously glad to have you here. You're welcome anytime. Thanks for showing up. Last and not as so quickly is Mr. Scott Benjamin. We're going to talk about him a little bit. Mr. Benjamin applied to be our Delta District Director. What that means is the state association splits up the state in various districts, and there are district directors that serve on the TSBA Board of Directors. He applied for that. He was chosen among all the candidates to be their candidate by the selection committee. It's a statewide selection committee. It was from all across the state. They picked him based on his application to be their representative as the Delta District Director. The way that'll work is Mr. Benjamin is their selection, so he will be voted on at our fall district meeting, September 19th-ish. Test my old man memory. I think it's the 19th. I'll verify that. And I believe that's the event that you'll miss. Correct, Superintendent? He can't vote really for us, but sure, he would like to be there in a supporting role. So we'll be voting on this nomination at the fall district meeting, 9/18. Sorry, I did put it in my notes. If elected, he will serve a 3-year term on the Tennessee School Board Association Board of Directors. And this is the part I'm most excited about. Subsequently serve on my cabinet while I am TSBA president next year. So 2 people from Little Arlington School Board are going to be on a state board, which I think is just super cool. So I geeked out for a minute there. I'll be the first TSBA president from any of the municipalities, and one of only a handful from Shelby County ever, and to have you there with me is going to be special. I appreciate you. Appreciate you doing that. I don't think we could be better represented. Actually, I canceled my TSBA COSBA trip so I could be there and vote for you. I was supposed to be in DC that week, so I'm sure DC will go on without me. But congratulations on your nomination. It is well deserved, and I think it's just phenomenal that we'll be represented at that level. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Diaz, for your kind words. I really appreciate that.
Well deserved, sir.
I just want to shout out to all of our employees for a great start to the school year. It's been phenomenal. Almost every employee, when I've been in the schools, have said to me, this doesn't feel like it's a new school year. It feels like we came back from fall break and we're just doing our thing, and we never stopped, but we took a little break, but we were able to come back and just pick up where we left off. And I attribute that to our principals primarily for making that seamless for their teachers and employees to come back to school, and then our district office staff for giving them the tools that they need to feel confident in being able to do that. So it's been a great year. It's been a very smooth start. We've not had to make any staffing adjustments, even though we're a couple of kids down from our projections, and I'll cover that in just a minute. But overall, very pleased with where we are projection-wise, staffing-wise, and Dr. Clark will talk a little bit later about where we are staffing-wise, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. But I do want to thank our teachers and our employees for that, because it's beginning of the school year is one of those make it or break it sort of things. It's how you start the year is how that year is going to go, and I feel like we're in for a great year ahead based on that great start that we've had. So I appreciate that to all of our principals, employees, and district office staff. I do want to give a special shout out to my executive staff for a lot of the heavy lifting they did in the summer. A lot of people don't see all of that that's going on, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on during the summer when, people ask us that question a lot of times, like, well, what do y'all do during the summer? Well, we do a lot during the summer in a very short period of time to get ready for the new school year so that school year can go smoothly. And the executive staff members are the ones that carry that and do all the heavy lifting to make sure that we're prepared for that. We also appreciate the support of our school board to let us do that, to let us be the experts in the areas that we know. We kind of feel like we know what we're doing. We're not arrogant about that, but we just sort of feel like we know what we're doing. And we've kind of proven that year after year that we've been able to get these school years started, even with some very difficult circumstances when we were dealing with the pandemic and all of that. We still had great starts to our school year. So this is kind of a piece of cake when you've been through that. And again, I feel like things are going really well. But we appreciate the support that you all show, not only me, but also indirectly the support you give to the principals and all of the employees of the district, and the investment you've made in our employees this year. Their 3% largest raise ever that they've received, their step increase, we had no increase to benefits. So all of those things are very much appreciated by our employees, and I'm sure they would echo that. I also want to give a very special shout out to our accountability department, led by Ms. Rochelle Douglas, our Chief of Accountability, for doing it again. We always feel like every year, okay, what are we going to do this year at In-Service to top what we did last year? And somehow she pulls that out of her hat. And we had Garry Brooks, as you all know, that was just a phenomenal motivator back to school, getting us all ready. And so now the pressure's on, so you got to figure out what you're going to do next year. And I'm sure you'll come through as you always have. So, but anyway, that was a great start, a fun day, very motivational. And my takeaway from that was I was familiar with Garry Brooks, but only from a humorous standpoint of seeing the crazy videos that he does that we can all relate to as educators. But then getting to see that serious side of him and that motivational side that he shared with our employees was, I think, is something that will stay with us throughout the school year, and that's the goal. I do want to review our enrollment projections. I've tried to keep you all up to date on that as we've moved through first day, third day, fifth day. Well, we're up to the 11th day numbers now, and currently we have 4,459 students. We were projected at 4,528 students, so we're a little bit below. We're at 90% of our projected enrollment on day 11, and that's about 69 students below projection. Most of those are at the high school, with a smattering from the other schools where we're a little shy. And that doesn't mean we won't get there, because we do continue to register students. We had some people up here today. I walked up to the front to give the receptionist something, and I saw a couple of families in there today trying to get enrolled and providing their proofs and their evidence that they live in the community or that they're eligible to enroll. So that will continue to grow a little bit. As a reminder, we made a commitment you all made a commitment to our Arlington High School faculty that as Lakeland continues to add a grade level, that we're trying really hard not to have a reduction in force among those employees, and so far we've been able to honor that. We do have a couple of about 3 or 4 positions at the high school that are unfilled, that are budgeted, but are unfilled by choice, because every time someone resigns or retires, we assess that to see if there's a need, and if there's not a need for it, we don't fill the position. But it also helps us lower that threshold of staffing versus number of students, when in essence, we do need to lose some of those positions in order to be shored up with our enrollment. But we're not doing that at the expense of our employees. And you all have made that commitment, and hopefully by us doing this process, we can continue to go in that direction without having to impact employees, which is the goal. So we have about 680 district-wide non-resident students that play into that number that I gave you earlier. 124 of those are new, and 556 are existing. We had 323 new non-resident students to apply this year. We approved 124, and we denied 183, because as you know, we have some strict guidelines in place that if you don't live in the district, you have to meet an attendance, an academic, and a behavior criteria, or we don't offer you admittance to the district. So that's a little more than half that we didn't approve this year because they didn't meet the criteria. So again, that sort of plays into those projections, in that had more of those students met the criteria, we would be a little bit closer to our those 69 students that were under projection. So I still think we'll probably get those, though, between now and Labor Day. One other topic that I wanted to mention, I've mentioned it before, at district-wide in-service, is our Prospective Administrators Academy, that we are going to start getting that launched. Probably we'll start on that work a little bit before fall break, but then we'll hit it good once fall break, once we get back from fall break. I looked today at a report of individuals in our district who hold an administrative license, who are not already in an administrative position, and we have about 30 of those employees. So I will be inviting all of those employees to come and attend. Again, it's choice if they're not interested. Some people have their administrative license and they have seen what their principals deal with and they don't want to be one, and I totally respect that. But we're going to give them the opportunity to say, hey, maybe this is the time for me. So that's about 30. So that's a really good number in the district of our size. So we're going to try to tap into that to build some future leaders, and for succession planning and some of those things, that when old people like me and others leave, that we will have some leaders hopefully standing in line to assume some of these responsibilities. You'll hear more about that as we progress through that. The Arlington 5K is Saturday the 9th. We are a gold sponsor again as a district, and we're putting together a district team. I actually won't be there for that because that's our state superintendent's toss meeting. That's not always, but 75% of the time it falls on that same weekend. And I've tried to drive up there after the 5K with a UT Knoxville game and an antique car show in Pigeon Forge, and it takes me 20 hours to get there after I've done the 5K. So I try to leave 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and make that trip on these days to avoid that.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say that I'll be unavailable for the 5K as well.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna go, but a spoiler alert, the wrestlers always win.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Dudes have won it every year, because they have to. They don't have a choice.
You're right, they kind of make us look bad. But we are in a different age category from them, so it is possible for us to win a medal. So the Superintendent's Leadership Roundtable, SLR for short, I have identified those individuals for this school year, and that again is comprised of both classified and certified individuals. And we have representatives from each school, and we have a couple more at the high school because of the size of the high school. We will have our first meeting on September 21st, and again, that's also an avenue for individuals to be nominated by their principals. If leadership is an area that's on their map, always tell the principals to, look for that in your nominees. And then I try to figure out a balanced cross-section of what I feel is balanced with, classroom teachers, fine arts teachers, counselors, different people that can bring a different perspective to that. And this group I use for calendar committee. We go over, I get feedback from them. They've been, in the past, great. We've made calendar adjustments as a result of the feedback that they've come back and said, hey, our teachers at our building, why can't we do this, or could we do this instead of this, and stuff that we don't think about because we have our tunnel vision at central office sometimes. And so it's good to have that feedback from our employees as we work through some of those kinds of things. I've already got one thing I'm going to talk to them about as it relates to in-service that Ms. Douglas and I talked about. So that'll be one of their things that they'll give me feedback on this first meeting. Fine arts renovation, that's moving along. If you've been over there since in-service, it's wow. It's really moving, and I'm really impressed about that. And I noticed our architect today has been named, I don't know if it's called is it a partner? Is that what they call it, Ms. Speakman? Or he's been named a partner in the firm that we're working with, and we've been very impressed with him. So congratulations to Mr. Michael Winter, who's our architect, and now he's been named a partner in his firm. So that's good news, and we've been very happy with this project and the way that it's moved. Legacy grants, we announced the legacy grants at the district-wide in-service, and we will be awarding those shortly. Mr. Hill and I have sat down with the nominations and the uses or the proposed uses, and so I feel like we've identified, we got a couple of questions about a couple that we're going to follow back up, but we'll be making those awards pretty soon. That'll be our first round of those legacy grants. We've got some really good proposals, so very good response from that. So I'm really pleased with that. Those are my notes, and I know some of the departmental heads have some things to add. But before we move to that, I'm going to go ahead and do Mr. Ruff, who's out sick, and Mr. Hill, who's out on vacation. So I'm going to do Mr. Hill's first. He basically has a couple of dates that he wants us to put on the calendar, and this is something we've all been working on since the beginning of the school year. But to celebrate our 10th year as a district, we will be teaming up with the AHS Student Council to host a homecoming carnival this year, the week of homecoming. The homecoming carnival will be held on a Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock at our football stadium, and this will be the kickoff for the homecoming festivities. And we'll have more details of that to come. But that's something new we've never done this year, but we wanted to do something kind of special since it is our 10th year. And we're going to be trying to do some things like that throughout the year. The second date,
What was that date?
September 24th, 3 o'clock. The second annual Track or Treat movie night, which was an experiment last year for family engagement. That was one of our goals coming off COVID. We wanted to try to create some intentional family engagement events. And so we are forced to do that again because of the success of that. And it was fun. We want to do it again. So this year's will be Saturday, October the 28th at 5:45 p.m. And we'll have more details as we get closer to that. We already have a theme for central office too. Our folks get real excited about that. So we're excited about that. So that's Mr. Hill's report. Mr. Ruff has a few updates. He said, if you want to report this, we finally got our permit for the elevator today, and I do want to report that because this has been going on forever. And so we did get the permit, so hopefully that elevator, I think we're going to do, maybe we'll do a fundraiser and do ticketed rides or something up and down the elevator. I don't know. We'll figure something out fun with it. The high school track is completed. The parking lot at the middle school has been completed. I don't know if you all have seen that. It's great. It looks really good, much needed. The baseball bleachers have been completed, and I had told you earlier that you all get 2 seats in the stadium, and we're working on some little tabs or something to designate your seats at the stadium. We promise we won't put you in front of the pole. We'll put you where you can see. And so you'll have those when baseball season starts in the new chairs in the stadium. So really, really nice. Concrete for Fine Arts Edition should be completed by Thursday. He says they have about 50% of the block for the new band room complete. The steel for the roof has been delivered. They've released the auditorium for use until they get the rest of the material for the Presidium. They will look to complete that over Christmas break. The stage at the middle school has been resurfaced. That was another CIP plan. There are several areas at all properties that need concrete replaced, and I'm working on final quotes for all. This is from Mr. Ruff. So anyway, he's got some stuff going on, busy making progress, so working through those CIP items. So I'll go from there to Dr. Clark. We'll see if you have any updates.
Good evening. So with our staffing right now, we have three classified employees that we are looking to seek positions, and principals are currently in interviews, and we have prospective candidates for that. In our teaching, our certified staff, we have one school counselor at an elementary school position that is open. And we're fortunate enough at this time to have a retired school counselor come back and assist with us while we are seeking a person for that position. We have one teacher at AMS who has decided to retire and seek retirement. And so we have posted that position, and we do have some viable applicants for that. Then for the substitutes, we have 89 substitutes on staff right now. 35 of those substitutes are certified. We're fortunate that most of our people who retire, they want to continue having something to do, and they choose to help us and serve as substitutes. That is very important to us because we do have employees that have to go on medical leave, and when they do, we're able to fill those long-term positions with certified teachers and teachers who are very familiar with our district and our practices. Also, our fill rate since the first day of school has been 95%, and on most days we fill at 100%. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Mr. Goforth.
Good evening, board members. Just wanted to touch base with a few updates from academics. First of all, we got quite a few teachers here tonight, so I want to thank them because all of this work I'm going to go through, this work wouldn't be possible without them pulling all of these strings. So anyway, we appreciate them being here. First thing I want to update you with, as you know, this is really our first meeting since our summer camp ended in reference to the third grade literacy law, what some people call the retention law. So just so you know, this is a breakdown for your information. We had 69 third graders that were not proficient on that 2023 third grade ELA TCAP test. So we had 69, as you've heard me say before. The important thing is to get those students on the right promotional pathway, and we were very successful in doing that. So the way those 69 students were broken down, we had 42 students who were exempted, mainly because they would have a say disability, a suspected disability, or an ESL student, just for some examples. We have 4 students that got to retake the test. The students could retake this year. We had 17 students who filed an appeal with the state of Tennessee, and those appeals were approved. And we have 5 students that were promoted to the 4th grade based on commitment to participate in the full year of tutoring, which would be this school year in 4th grade. So those students moved on to 4th grade. We had a transfer student come in that also tutoring is required for. So we actually had 6 students that have to take or need the tutoring for this coming school year. So, and an important part of that to remember is, now those students are going to be tutored throughout the school year. The structure from the state is twice a week for about 30 minutes at each session. But those students now have to be proficient on TCAP in 4th grade. And if they are not, they would be retained in 4th grade. And there are no options in 4th grade. So you're retained, you're retained. So we've tried to stress that to parents is, you know, the tutoring is in place for support, but TCAP is still in play in 4th grade. You got to be proficient, okay? So, but again, that pertains to 6 students. So overall, we're very pleased with the results we had with getting these kids on the right pathway. So just wanted to touch base with you on that. So 6 kids in tutoring. Couple of other updates, as I said before, you have to remember we have to continue this work with our 3rd grade families. So we've already, as I call it, started our 3rd grade literacy law tour. So we've sent notifications home to families on enrollment verification night, as well as Ms. Cotner and I attended the 3rd grade curriculum nights at Arlington Elementary School and Donaldson Elementary School to provide information to families as well. So we just, again, we feel like we need to notify families throughout this year about the importance of TCAP. Next thing is, most of you know, you've approved in our new math textbooks. Those are out across the district in kindergarten through 12th grade. Special thanks to our technology team and their great work. I believe we have all of our 1st through 12th grade devices have been distributed to families, and kindergarten devices will begin tomorrow. And we usually roll those devices out a little slower. We kind of let those kindergarten students kind of have that acclimation to school first. So we will start that tomorrow with those kindergarten students, but they've done a great job because that's upwards of, you know, lots and lots of devices, thousands. So great work there. As many of you know, we've also rolled out a new learning management system, Canvas learning management system, which that handles all of our aspects of learning, the learning process with technology. You've probably heard before we had Schoology. We have transitioned over to Canvas this year. Canvas had a lot more advanced features for teachers, for students, also had extra layers of security, and also Canvas is a learning management platform that you see in a lot of universities. So University of Memphis, University of Tennessee, Union University, they all use Canvas. So when our students graduate, they've had that product throughout their school career, and they will transition to those universities that use it. So it should be a smooth transition, but that's being rolled out for teachers and students. Parent rollout will be next week in the community as well. And last thing I just want to touch base on, so you know what's going on in the schools, we will begin a process after Labor Day of cataloging all of the library books across the district in classrooms, and eventually those books will be posted on websites with teachers' names so parents can see the books that are available in the classrooms. So, any questions? Well, thank you very much.
Just a comment. I'm sure everybody up here knows, but I'm not sure everybody in the audience knows that our 3rd grade retention was one of the lowest in the entire state of Tennessee. So
Absolutely.
talk about the teachers. You say well
Yep.
done. Yeah.
Absolutely.
In fact, with the updated stats you gave, we may have been the #1 in the state.
Yeah, it was great for our first year. It was just outstanding work.
Very
So
impressive.
we were very pleased. So,
Very impressive.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goforth. Ms. Douglas, do you have okay. And Ms. Speakman? All right. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Perfect. The board's had a chance to review all the financial stuff. Are there questions from Ms. Sappington at all? You gonna let her off the hook that easy?
Yeah, I have to do that.
Okay, so in order to streamline these meetings, we've been, Ms. Williams has been pushing out all of the TLN stuff, but this was a big one. I think it was 10 or 11 documents plus one she gave today, so are there any questions for her about any of this? It was a lot.
Give me a phone call.
Yeah, it really was a lot.
It's a lot.
Partisan elections and
It's a lot.
Yeah, but you guys may not be aware that the state law was passed last year. Well, I'll let you talk about it, but it's going to make the potential to make school board elections partisan. A lot of districts have already sent letters. Lakeland has sent one. And this board just signed one today to send to the Republican Democratic parties, saying that we do not want school board elections to be partisan. We'll see how all that works out, but that was included in there. Ms. Williams, is there anything you need to say about this supplement you gave us?
What Mr. Mayor was saying about how hard everybody works in the summer and how difficult it is to be a principal and a teacher now, the legislature does not help us, okay? So you need to stay tuned to whatever they do or what bills they are passing, and be aware of what's going on, because it certainly affects you every single day. And it makes your job, well, I hate to say it, but a lot more difficult. It's a lot of things. We do not go on their job and tell them how to do their job, but they do like to come on our job and tell us how to do our job. So that's kind of sad. End of speech.
Yeah, well, they're in a special session for those people that don't know, and
Yes.
and there's a lot of school board stuff. Fortunately, it's mostly about security. They're going to probably not pay for any of it, but force us to do some things. So at least they're looking at school security, which surely they can't mess that up too bad. We hope. Okay. Moving on, I'll take a motion for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Williams is the second. Is there discussion on anything on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda, let's see where we are. Superintendent.
Okay, the first business item is item 7A, and this is the recommendation to approve the iPad refresh for elementary and middle school teachers in the amount of $163,748.50. And these are refreshed every 4 years, so this group of teachers definitely up for the refresh. So with that, it is my recommendation that you approve the iPad refresh for elementary and middle school teachers in the amount of $163,748.50.
We'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second, okay. Williams and Conley. Is there any discussion on this item?
I will say this has obviously already been budgeted from the
Yes.
budget that you all approved.
Yeah. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Superintendent?
All right. Next item is 7B, and this is the recommendation to approve a contract with Musco Sports Lighting in the amount of $1,165,900 for Arlington Community Schools Board of Education's multiple field relighting project. So, as you know, over the years, we've been constantly trying to update our lighting to LED lighting because it's more efficient, a little more expensive to get, but much more efficient to maintain once we have that converted over. And this is another effort, and I think we're almost there in having these projects completed for our fields, our sports fields. So with that, again, this is part of our budget. It's already been rolled into the budget that you all approved previously for this school year. So with that, it's my recommendation that you approve the contract with Musco Sports Lighting in the amount of $1,165,900 for Arlington Community Schools Board of Education's multiple field relighting project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Done. And Benjamin, perfect. Any discussion on this item for the superintendent?
Did I understand this correctly? There's the theatrical component to this that can be used for the games and those things, as I was reading through this extensive document.
Yes.
I'm in favor of that. I'm just making sure.
Yes, yes.
It's gonna be like a
We're
college
gonna
setting.
put you out there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, do a little dance routine
I
for
can,
it?
do
Yeah.
the dials and make it,
Can you though?
flash the track.
Can you do the dials?
Yeah, man.
Okay. Hey, any
Just
other
get confused.
meaningful discussion? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Anything, anybody else?
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that's here tonight.
Yes, Go
Our
Scouts.
scouts and our teachers.
It's awesome.
a guest from Lakeland, and it's nice to have somebody here listening to us and knowing what's going on in the school board meetings.
No doubt they watch these diligently on the rebroadcast on
Yes.
Channel 19.
Take notes.
No doubt. Okay, let's go ahead and, all those in favor of approving the sports lighting contract, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. Is
Before
it-
you adjourn, Dr. Vios, I wanted
These
to.
guys are hungry, look at them.
I wanted to, the lines will be shorter at Whataburger in a few minutes. I wanted to add on to what Ms. Conley said, and I want to, I know Ms. Hawkins, she called me this week and she shared with me something that she's doing in her building, and that is she has encouraged her teachers through her leadership team to be more active and more visible at board meetings, to show appreciation for the things that the board is investing in, and not just, you know, taking it for granted, but having that attitude of gratitude about all the things that you all as a school board are doing and the things that the district is doing for them. And so she wanted to share that with me because she didn't want me to be alarmed when I saw a bunch of teachers show up at the board meeting. So I appreciated that phone call, but I also appreciate that strategy that you're implementing as well. So I just wanted to add that.
That's awesome. Sometimes we give out good information in these things, so it's worth visiting for. Okay, anybody have anything else before we adjourn? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Yes, sir.
May we speak for?
Yeah, come on. What the heck?
My daughter's gonna hand you a piece of paper real quick, just to kind of explain a little bit more about what an Eagle Scout is and what it takes to become an Eagle Scout. And the reason
Thanks.
that we are here tonight is to ask the school board for assistance in getting the Eagle Scout Honor Cord approved as one of the high school cords that these scouts can wear at graduation. Currently, the Arlington Scout Troop, which is made up of sixth grade through high schoolers, has about 72 boys in it. And our Cub Scout group, which is K through 5, has another 35 to 40 boys in it, and we have not done recruiting yet for this year. So I hope to see that number grow tremendously. We also have students at Arlington High School from Lakeland, and they have a boy troop in Lakeland as well. And my daughter that just passed you those forms, she's part of Troop 8, which is also based in Lakeland, but is the only girl troop in our area. These kids work very hard to become Eagles. They do a lot of things in the community. Currently with the Arlington community, we put out flags on all the holidays. We assist at Memorial Day and Veterans Day ceremonies, countless number of events we're involved in. Our Eagle Scouts are required to complete a project prior to earning their Eagle Scout, and some of those scouts have done projects that directly benefit Arlington. Just recently, one of our scouts did birdhouses at the new Williamson Park, which is there at 70 and 385, to encourage habitats for the birds there. One of our scouts did updated the garden beds at the community garden a while back. And then also in the community, not necessarily in Arlington, but in the surrounding areas, Herb Parsons Lake, one of our scouts did fishing line recycling boxes, because if you've ever seen fishing line and tried to put it in the garbage, it doesn't stay there somehow. It always ends up out of it. So he did that. And one of my favorite ones was the Sheriff's Office SWAT team. One of our scouts made gun racks for them at one of their training facilities where they didn't have those. So our scouts recognize community needs or are informed of community needs, and they come up with a plan of action to raise that money, locate those items, build those items, and then ultimately disseminate those items to our community and to our community partners. So all I'm asking today is for the board to just think about and possibly approach the high school, the principal, I believe it was Shannon Abraham who I spoke with on email, to possibly consider accepting outside honor cords such as Eagle Scout. It might not be a nationally accredited academic organization, but it is certainly a nationally accredited organization that produces some of the world's best leaders. Some notable Eagle Scouts from history is President Gerald Ford, Neil Armstrong, one of our astronauts, and Dale, you'll probably appreciate John Wayne.
Yeah.
Was also an Eagle Scout, and we've got other scouts that didn't quite make it to the rank of Eagle because less than 5% of all scouts ever make it to that. So that's a pretty prestigious honor. But Martin Luther King is one of those, Hank Aaron, Bill Gates, Michael Jordan, Joe Theismann, Nolan Ryan, so all very famous and very influential people all came up through scouting. So that is my request, that the board will consider talking to the principal and possibly getting that changed. So, thank you.
Well, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you guys all being here.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yes.
so much.
Thank you.
All right. Meeting is adjourned.